Are you ready, sir?
Yes.
It's NFL Draft Week!
Oh, I wish I had the siren for that.
Yeah, the pew, 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 pew.
You didn't let me know.
No, I just, sometimes you got to just stay ready over there. I'm an unpredictable force of nature.
Chris is giving you a side eye.
Speaking of unpredictable forces of nature, what's Russell doing over there?
I'm not sure. He has a wiffle ball bat in hand.
He does have a wiffle ball bat in hand. Quit threatening my producer. He didn't do anything. I did. If you want to fight with someone, you come fight with me.
Hey, that's a rooster right there, an angry one.
But please leave the bat over there, if you don't mind, sir. You angry rooster who's been put back in his cage until 1 o'clock tomorrow. It is NFL Draft Week, and it is this. I don't know how else to say this. This is a weird freaking draft. This is one of the most bizarre draft classes that I think that we're going to cover not only the entire time that I am able to do this show, but probably for the rest of my life and career. This is a draft where it is incredibly thin at the top. It is incredibly thick with about 4 C's beyond the top. And that creates this bizarre world where, in some ways, the Commanders are in an ideal situation, and in some ways, it's kind of a bad situation for them. Because at the 29th pick, there's going to be good football players that are just as good as the ones that were taken 10 picks ahead. That's good. There's also going to be players that are taken 10 picks behind and maybe even 20 picks behind that would have been just fine selections at 29. And the reason I mention all of this is because I think it's important for us from like a sanity standpoint and an expectation standpoint moving forward to remember how we feel right now and remember how this is in many ways similar to the NBA draft last year, where you look at Zachary Risarche as a number 1 pick for the Hawks and Alex Sarr as a number 2 pick for the Wizards, and you kind of don't hold them to being a number 1 overall pick or a number 2 overall pick in the same way that you hold Zion Williamson and Ja Morant. Those dudes were generational talents that belonged at the top of a draft and would have been at the top of basically any draft. Cooper Flagg in this year's draft is one of them ones. And if he does not help lead a team to a championship based off of what he is expected to be as a prospect, you would actually be like, that's a bummer. Like, we had that expectation if we draft him going in, and if he doesn't ultimately wind up getting us there, what did we screw up? Or did we screw up the evaluation, or did we screw up the process to help him do what he is fully capable of? In the same ways that last year, if you got Jaden Daniels or Drake May or Caleb Williams, frankly, you are hoping that that is a legitimate franchise quarterback that is going to lead you to a Super Bowl. If you got Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, you are hoping those are top 5 receivers in the NFL within the next couple of years, and they stay at that level for 5-6 years of their primes. I don't know there is a single player in this draft that hits that threshold. Ashton Genty, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter are probably the 3 single best football players in this draft for their positions. Genty as a running back is someone who's going to go even lower than certainly the top 3. But if you tell me that none of Ashton Genty, Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter are ever a top 5 player at their position, I'd believe it. Abdul Carter should be really good. He should make a bunch of Pro Bowls. He's very, very good. He's not what Myles Garrett was as a prospect. Frankly, he's probably not as good as Chase Young was as a prospect. Now, I say that to say these things can take turns. No one have expected J.J. Watt to be J.J. Watt as the 12th overall pick. Otherwise, J.J. Watt would have been a top 3 pick. Any guy, Justin Jefferson, winds up going 24 because he was the other guy with Jamar Chase. Whoopsie daisies. Now he and Chase are the 2 best players in all of football. receivers in all of football. So there's nothing to say that for sure one of these guys that's taken in the teens, the 20s, the 30s can't become an all-pro. It happens. It's just less likely than the guys that we know at the top of the draft. But that also has done something else in this draft that I think is kind of a wacky bit, which is, and it was put the most succinctly I've heard by our guy Dane Brugler at The Athletic. I was listening to the show that they did that came out, I think, on Friday with Robert Mays and Derek Klassen, and they did their Pass Catcher Palooza 2025. And they did like literally 2 hours, which is why I'm still in the middle of said podcast, because it is very long. Even at 1.25x speed, a 2-hour podcast is still a 2-hour podcast. That's a long show. But Dane was basically like, someone's got to be number 8. Basically that if you have some guys, and I'll use Logan's rankings here, because on Take Command this morning, Logan and I went over his big board, and I believe Colston Loveland is the 8th player on his big board, like number 8 overall player. It's his top tight end. He likes him better than Tyler Warren. We can get into that later on in the show. But if I pull up Logan's board, he's got 3 players in tier 1. It's Genty, Carter, and Travis Hunter. And then overall, Loveland's his 6th overall player. 6th. In a regular draft, nevertheless a loaded draft like last year, in a regular draft, Colston Loveland's like the 18th best player. In a loaded draft like last year, Colston Loveland's going in the 20s. And he still might, based off the fact that he's a tight end. And obviously other people like Tyler Warren better, and other people are just going to disagree, generally speaking, with Colston Loveland's evaluation from Logan. But just to use one man's rankings and one player here, somebody's got to go 6. If you're ranking players in order, if you're ranking your favorite foods out of a list that I give you, and you don't like any of the foods, one of them's got to be your favorite. And that's kind of what this draft is. And the difference between Colston Loveland at 6 and where is he on Logan's list? Mason Taylor at 37. 2 tight ends, pretty minimal. Different types of players. But like, if Mason Taylor winds up being a better player, a more reliable player than Colston Loveland, that won't be shocking. But if I tell you 37 versus 6, that feels like a big gap. And so to bring this all back around and kind of to drive home the point that I was making off the top, we need to adjust our expectations for what this first rounder is going to be. It's probably going to be a pretty solid football player. And there's a chance if it's someone like a Shamar Stewart, who's got a really high upside, that it could turn into a great football player. But Shamar Stewart's also had a sack and a half every year of his career at Texas A&M. So you're dealing with major questions about how good players can be or if they could be good at all. And I am very curious to see what kind of risk tolerance Adam Peters has at 29 to say, do I take a big swing on a Shamar Stewart, a James Pierce, a Luther Burden, someone who has a ton of potential, who could be on other people's boards a top 10 player? Or do you go with someone more reliable like a Donovan Ezeraku, who's got mega college production, someone like a Colston Loveland, who you're like, I know exactly who that guy is. Frankly, Loveland's probably going to be off the board. Mason Taylor at tight end. I know who he's going to be. And so we'll talk more about what this means as we go here, but I'm curious if you have a lean one way or the other. 301-230-0980. This is one of the most unique draft classes that we have seen in recent memory. Is probably one of the most unique ones that we'll ever see in our entire lives. Which direction do you want them to swing? Just get on base, or are you swinging for the fences? 301-230-0980 is the phone number. We take your calls and talk more about this class as we continue here on The Hoffman Show. Three zero 301-230-0980 is the phone number. 301-230-0980. That is where you call us. We are the Hoffman Show here on the Team 980. Always live as well on the free Odyssey app and streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Do you want to see the Commanders swing big or just make sure they get on base with their first round pick? That's essentially the question that we're asking, because there is, like, you can try to sit dead red in this draft. And, you can try to sit dead red, to just continue the baseball analogy here, and be like, if we get our pitch, we're going to hit it, and we know we're going to hit it real far. And maybe Adam Peters has a prospect in mind, and that he's like, if I get my hands on prospect X, then I know we're going to have a stud. We know that guy in our system, who he is, all that stuff, that we're going to look back on this draft, and when they do all the redrafts, they're going to be like, how did the Commanders get the best player in this draft, or the 5th best player in this draft at the 29th pick? Maybe they have a guy. And if they do, great. Realistically, I think you're picking between one or the other. And I think it's probably worth exploring some of who each is at the positions, and especially at the positions of need, if you will, in this draft for Washington. Anthony, first, philosophically, do you have is Russell Stone there with his baseball bat? Okay, he is.
Yeah, he is.
All right, I just make sure you guys were chit-chatting. I didn't want to, interrupt. He's still got his baseball bat, which is definitely why I don't want to interrupt. Chris, you can wave it all you want. For all the cameras we have on this show, we don't have one on you right now. Who would you like to see them take like a big swing, potentially hit a home run at 29, or just like, if I tell you I can guarantee you a double, do you want a double?
I mean, the thing is, like, where we are and what we need for our team, I feel as though, you really can't go wrong. Like, if you want to get more depth at tackle, all right, if a Josh Campbell is there, then we go that route. We need
Will Campbell or Josh Connerly? Which one?
Josh Cornerly. All right, my bad.
Yeah, Oregon kid. Yeah.
And then also, like, if you want to go guard, you can go guard. If you want to go safety, you can go safety. I just feel like where we are, like, there's no really wrong way of going. Now, Chris did ask me this. He said, if Jahad Campbell is there at 29, would you take a flyer on him? And I told him he wouldn't be a guy that I would be more interested in. I think we have other needs that are a little bit more essential than linebackers. So the offensive line, defensive line, cornerback, or even safety, I think those take a little bit more precedent than a linebacker or a running back position.
So here's the thing with me and Jahad Campbell. I think he's an edge. Or like he's a Frankie Louvu type. That is, his off-ball linebacker skills are not first-round caliber. His ability to rush the passer is what makes him really intriguing. This is kind of a cop-out, but I have a hard time believing Jahad Campbell's the best player on their board when they're picking. Both because I actually think someone else will take him, and because I feel like the types of guys they look for, I don't know enough about Campbell to know that, like, that's jumping off the page. Like, he's not a guy where first thing on the scouting report is amazing leadership, whatever like that. And again, I don't know that it's bad, but like big athlete who can really run and cover ground, that's definitely part of what they want. But I don't know that Jahad Campbell is going to fit their mold, which is actually like something that I've thought about a lot more over the last week, because I look at a guy like James Pierce Jr., the edge out of Tennessee. Could you make a compelling argument that his character stuff, the red flags with him, are immaturity, and that under Dan Quinn, with the type of leadership they have, with Bobby Wagner in the defensive room, with Dietrich Wise in the D-line room, with some of the guys with Johnny Newton as a fellow young guy who is just an absolute go-getter, that you could get the absolute best out of James Pierce. I think you can make a compelling argument. And this is actually, if I won't be able to go to Adam Peters' press conference tomorrow based off my schedule. But if I could, this would be the question that I ask. So to any of the reporters who listen to the show, if you're going to be able to go tomorrow, I would love for this question to be asked of Adam Peters. How can you develop commanders, or do they come in that way, is the crux of the question. In other words, James Pierce Jr., I can make the argument that I just did, that in this environment, you get the best out of him. But are they really going to spend their first-round pick on a guy who doesn't have the Commander's tag, who doesn't have the leadership skills of Jaden Daniels and Mikey Sainristil and Johnny Newton and the guys that Brandon Coleman, the guys that they took that we know you never have to question their competitiveness. You never have to question their effort. You never have to question whether they're going to be rowing the boat in the direction that you want to go. And I don't know enough about Jahad Campbell one way or the other. The little bit that I do know, I'm going to guess he's not that guy. Not that he's a bad kid, not that he's a bad guy, not that he shouldn't be a first-round pick, that he's not their guy. And so, is that a cop-out answer directly to Chris Russell's question? Yeah, what are you going to do, Rooster? I'm being a coward. But I hope that's actually insightful.
I mean, I don't think it's a cop-out answer.
Also, I have him as an edge, so if you want to say he's the best edge on the board and take him at 29, fine. There's the non-cop-out answer.
I'm still all the way out on him.
Why are you out on him? Because you got him as an inside linebacker, and
yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I could see him in Indianapolis playing alongside Zaire Franklin. Now, he might not be an inside linebacker, but they sometimes do have two inside linebackers, or they'll just have a weak side linebacker. But at the same token, I think he's a young guy who, could be in their future for years to come. So I think he could definitely play inside linebacker, but I just wouldn't want him here. If he was to come here, though, I would think he's the success plan for a Bobby Wagner kind of thing.
And maybe you can get him in a Frankie Louvu type of role where he's playing some off ball, some edge, and then he's learning the defense, and eventually he transitions and he almost reverse Micah Parsons it. But I just have a hard time. I mean, look, he's Dane's 14th overall player on the board. Like, he's a good football player.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that he's one of these guys that you have to have a plan for. And they're good here at doing that. The right places will have a plan for a guy like that. Trying to think who else is in there. I mean, Indy, sure. Who else is in that range? Dallas won't do it. They're at 12. Miami's interesting at 13 because they do play a 3-4. So I could see him being, they typically call the two inside linebackers in a 3-4, Mike and Mo. He could be Mo. I don't trust him to be Mike. I don't trust him making the calls and stuff, at least to start in his career. But could he be Mo and do a lot of blitzing? Sure. I guess. I don't know that that's, and then play, on the edge of a 3-4 of an odd front, but I don't love him as an off-ball linebacker.
Yeah, I think also, like, with us being contenders, again, like, we have a lot of needs on our defense. If we're trying to improve the team and things of that nature, while also still, building towards the future, I think we're looking at a defensive lineman or a corner or something along those lines with those first two picks. Not to say, linebacker isn't a need of ours, but if we're
but is it? Like, not this, and that's the other thing, too. I think in general, we have to remember that, like, the draft is where you get the players that you want for the next 5 to 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a 2025, almost a 2024. It's definitely not a 2024 thing because 2024 is over, and it has been for a long time at this point. Where's the time going? It's not a 2025 deal. Need is a relative term. The only definitive not need the Washington Commanders have is quarterback. They do not need a quarterback. If they have a use for anybody other than Jaden Daniels, their season is already screwed. Outside of that, need everybody.
Yep.
That's why you take best player available. Now, there's certain resources committed. It's not quite that simple, but it ain't far off. Which returns us to the question at 301-230-0980. Again, 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Would you rather see the Commanders take a big swing on a guy with good traits or whatever the risk is, or go with a safer prospect that you trust is going to be a good pro, but probably isn't going to develop into the next superstar in burgundy and gold? 301-230-0980 is the phone number. Take your calls next. It's Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. Our phone number is 301-230-0980. And if you would like to give us a call, now would be a fantastic time because, Anthony, how many people are on the phone lines right now?
Zilch.
0. Open phone lines, everybody. 301-230-0980. And we can take your calls on this NFL draft class. Like, how would you want the Commanders to swing? Big or safely? You want to make sure they get on base, or are you okay with the big swing knowing there's a chance that you strike out? So, Anthony, I thought it would be worth our time then to take a look at, I'll use Dane's top 100 here. Who are some of the people that could be available for Washington realistically at 29 that fall in each categories? So I'm going to go based off of Dane Brugler's top 100. And really, it's kind of starting at player 9, which I think it illustrates, by the way, just how, bizarre this class is, right? I'm telling you that I don't think any of Dane's top 8 are available for Washington at 29. Travis Hunter, Abdul Carter, Ashton Genty, Mason Graham, Jalen Walker, Will Campbell, Armand Membu, and Tyler Warren. There's a really outside chance Walker would be because he's kind of a funky fit as an edge player, and he's kind of a funky, he's 6'1", 243, which is definitely smaller, but he's so explosive. Someone's going to take a shot on him, okay? Warren, I do wonder if positionally, and because there's another guy in Loveland who other teams definitely are going to like more. There's different players. He's the other guy that if I had to predict could, but very unlikely either will. Shamar Stewart at 9. Ultimate home run swing. 6'5", 267. Great motor. Plays the run well. Led Texas A&M with 39 pressures last year. And I feel like for folks who may be just tuning in for the first time because it's draft week and you haven't been following this stuff at all, and you're like, crash course. I want to be the smartest person in the water cooler this week. You're going, what is the possible downside to this guy? Because everything I've said so far, he is a Myles Garrett-esque athlete. He's 6'5", 270 pounds. He has 34-inch arms, which is huge. And he ran a 4.5 940 with a 1.58 10-yard sprint, a 40-inch vertical jump, and a 10-foot 11-inch broad jump. That is an absolutely bananas athlete. He had 1.5 sacks last year, and 1.5 sacks the year before that, and 1.5 sacks the year before that. He had 1.5 sacks every year at Texas A&M. He has one of the highest missed tackle rates in college football, 26.9% missed tackle rate. In college. Struggles to break down on the move and stay under control as a tackler. Like, he is the ultimate home run swing. Up next in the top 100, Mike Green, edge, Marshall. Green is a bizarre evaluation because as a player, I actually think he's probably like high floor, high ceiling, but he has 2 sexual assault allegations against him. I think a lot of NFL teams, in doing their research, feel like those might be allegations. I have a very hard time believing that if you're accused of that crime twice, that there's not something untoward that happened. But whatever it's worth, as a player, although he led FBS in sacks last year, he played at Marshall. But I think as a player, if he's, I'll put it this way. If he's available, he's in his own category, because if he's available at 29, you don't want him because the stuff that he's accused of is a problem. Because other than that, there's no way that dude gets to 29. Loveland, I think, is a double who could turn into a home run, which is why I don't think he's going to be available. Like, he could turn into Zach Ertz. We consider Zach Ertz a home run, right? Especially if you get him at 29.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tet McMillan, he's Dane's 12th player. I've seen him as high as 8 on some boards. Actually, I think I might have seen him as high as 3 on a board. Todd McShay just ranked him 50th.
God dang.
Yeah. Bizarre player. But, incredible mover, 6'4", Hips are great. Bizarrely short arms for a dude who's 6'4". T. Higgins has 34-inch arms. Ted McMillan's got 31-inch arms. What do you do with that? I don't know. He's also not blazing fast, but he had more 20-yard plus yard catches than anyone else in college football the last couple of years. Cam Ward, Jahad Campbell, Matthew Golden feels like a boom a potential just like safe floor prospect, but the production stuff in college is not very elite. So could he bust? I could see it. Derek Harmon, some people like him in the top 20. Some people think he's the 40th best player in this draft. Nick Manwari. He's actually someone that I think he's a team captain with incredible size and speed, really good football intellect. I actually don't really know what the hole is in Nick Manwari other than he plays safety. And there's some, obviously he's still young, so he's learning. But he's an interesting one. Will Johnson, I think he's dropping down boards because he didn't test at all. And very limited testing at his pro day, and he did not run. So like scouts really don't have an idea of like what he is as an athlete. Where did we go? Malachi Starks. Again, I think Starks could be Brian Branch and be an all-pro and defensive player of the year candidate, or he could be misused and out of the league in 4 years. Josh Simmons, probably the best offensive tackle in this class if healthy. Missed most of last year with a serious knee injury. No idea what he is. Mykel Williams, he's 20 years old, freak athlete on the edge. Could be great, could be out of the league in a couple years if he's used wrong. Donovan Ezeraku could get washed out of the league because he's too small, could wind up being a 10-sack-a-year guy like Dante Fowler or maybe even better. Josh Connerly, offensive tackle 4 for Dane, 23rd overall player. I don't think he's going in the first round. Is a player you should hope is still available for Washington and someone wants to make a trade for. But big projection at tackle. Tyler Booker, some people think, Logan thinks he might be the best guard in this class. Jeremy Green, who was in for Logan last week on Take Command, has got him in the 50s. This is all these dudes. Emeka Egbuka is like one of the few guys that I'm like, oh, that's a safe guy. I know what he is. Luther Burden could be Deebo Samuel. He could also blow up your team and be terrible. This is this class of players. Mason Taylor, never going to be a top 5 tight end probably in the NFL. Could be the 8th best tight end for a decade. Might also be the 13th best tight end for a decade. Pretty safe prospect. But this is these guys all the way down. Here, another one. Ariante Ursary, tackle out of Minnesota. Dane's got him at 37 overall. Jeremy and I in our mock draft last week took him at 61. So, this is the kind of draft that we're talking about. You want to play it safe or you want to take a big swing? We got a couple folks ready to give us their answer. We'll get some more on the phones if you want to call in at 301-230-0980 after we tell you a look at what's trending. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the team at 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the team 980. And now we have totally full phone lines open again because we said, hey, hang tight. We're going to get to the phones next. And the people on the phones hung up, Anthony. You just absolutely hate to see it.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely hate to see it. So, wow, that is one of the dumbest ideas I've ever seen. I'm so sorry to this person in the YouTube chat. But, Anthony, what about we offer number 29, B-Rob, and number 1 in 2026 to trade up for Ashton Genty?
I don't think people understand the amount of draft capital it would take to go from 29 to, I guess, 6, because that's where he's been like mostly mocked for the Raiders.
1, I don't think that gets it done. 2, I'm not trading up for a running back.
Yeah.
Unless it's Saquon Barkley now. Like, no. Ashton, that's the thing. It's like even Ashton Genty, right? Ashton Genty is a guy who went to Boise State and was their entire offense. And he was a really good offense. They played, Penn State in the college football playoff? He couldn't do jack. Probably in part because his offensive line couldn't do anything against Penn State. But, he's heavily used and played against bad competition. That's at a position that typically has depreciating value. I don't know that I want to spend a top 10 pick on that. I can make an argument against almost any player in this draft. It's crazy. Was there a guy you wanted to ask me about since nobody wants to do it on the phones?
Yeah, so earlier today they have the NFL draft countdown going on, and they have ESPN's, I don't know, top 50 or top 100 players constantly rotating. And one of the guys that I had saw was Azare Thomas. They said he gave up 0 touchdowns in 331 snaps or something like that. And I'm thinking why isn't this guy being marked higher, kind of thing.
So here's the case against Azare Thomas. Also, let me make sure. Azarie Thomas.
Am I saying it wrong?
I don't know what you said, but I know that it's Azarie.
I was saying Azare.
Yeah, no, it's Azarie. Thank you, Dane Brugler. The Beast also has pronunciation, guys. So the upside is he's huge for a corner. He's 6'1", he's 200 pounds. He's got 32, almost 33-inch arms. He's got some explosive ability. His 1.55 10-yard split, his 10-2 shuttle. Those are pretty solid numbers. His short shuttle time's 4.21. That's not bad. So he's got pretty good feet in terms of the measurables in that category. His length he uses pretty well, but he just hasn't played a lot of football. His ball skills are questionable. So hands, left some interception production on the field. That's in Dane's notes. But I think the big thing for him is his 40 time, and this shows on tape, is a 4.58.
Oh my God, that's low.
4.6 is the cutoff. If you don't run 4.6 or faster, you basically can't play corner in the NFL. Again, if you can at least run 4.5, we can work with that. You might not be the fastest guy, but we can make sure you have help in certain situations and you can, play off. And if you have some length like he does, that's going to help, because ultimately you're just scared about getting beat over the top, but also on crossing routes and things like that. And if you have good reaction skills and good short area quickness so you can make your cuts quickly and you have good length, you can make up for not just flat out running with a guy, right? But if you're 4.6 or slower, you can't make up for that. It's too slow. And that would scare the bejesus out of me about taking him at 29. Now, he's so good in other areas, and there's enough potential, and he's a younger guy. Like, I could see taking him at 61. I'm cool with that. If they trade back into the mid-40s or even the high 30s, I can get on board with Azareye'h Thomas there. I'm willing to take that risk for a guy in a class that doesn't have a lot of outside corners. He's an outside corner. He actually barely played in the slot at all, which is, I would say, a downside because I do want someone who can have some versatility if I can, but he's probably solely outside.
So you wouldn't be scared that he's a BSJ, not the fastest guy.
No, that's exactly what I'm scared about.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Hey, I got a big, long, tall guy who's got pretty good hips and pretty good decent movement skills, but he can't run full speed and his ball skills are questionable. Are you trying to replace Benjamin St-Juste with Benjamin St-Juste?
Yeah, okay.
That's what I'm scared of. Because, like, the thing is about Benjamin is, like, okay instincts on some of the breaking stuff underneath. Like, he fought in the, like, Benjamin's compete level was really high. He just, like, ultimately wasn't that good of a mover in his straight line speed, and his ball skills and the judgment and kind of some of the instinctual stuff was lacking. But I'd be like, that's actually a great comparison from what I know about Azareye'h Thomas. Is like, I'm scared that he is Benjamin St-Juste, which again, is Benjamin St-Juste as bad as a lot of people make him out to be? No, he's an NFL corner, but he's not a first rounder. Like, BSJ went in the third round.
Yeah.
And was like probably not quite as good as they wanted him to be. I'm not taking that in round one. I think Azareye'h Thomas can have, like, he's young enough that there's still upside potential that he could be better, which is why, like, if you want to take him in round two, I can't hate it. But there's definitely a lot to be desired. I will say he was a core 4 special teamer his first 2 seasons at Florida State. So it does feel like he's got special teams upside, which BSJ did not play a ton of teams early on in his career in DC. So that's probably worth mentioning as well. But yeah, 6'2", 196. Like, was BSJ 6'3", 195?
Yeah.
So definitely, I mean, BSJ literally had 1 interception in college. Azareye'h Thomas had 2.
Yeah, not a lot of ball production there.
No.
And it didn't translate to the NFL either. He still has 1, which was a gift.
Yeah, it was. But yeah, Thomas, honorable mention all ACC. But I think Trey Amos is the better spot there. Or do you wait and how far down does Dane have Williams? Let's see. It's a kid out of Cal that a lot
Noah
of
Williams, second and third, his 8th corner.
There you go. Yeah, Noah Williams, people love that kid. 6 foot, 200 pounds, fights his face off. So there you go on that one. All right. We will take some of your calls tomorrow then. And maybe on Tuesdays. There has been a bizarre lack of traffic on Mondays, Anthony. And I'm not mad about that. As someone who drives to work most days. But maybe there's more people in a position to call tomorrow. As for today, we gave you all the information we could ourselves.
I mean, yeah. Also today, Easter Monday, so a lot of people probably. I know both my schools, nobody had school today. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't feel like growing up I ever had Easter Monday off.
Me either.
Kids
hey, look,
these
we're
days.
in a different day and age.
I guess so. Bonus Easter egg hunting.
They get spring break and they get an Easter break. Since when we do that?
I don't know. I'm not in charge, bro.
And now they even have a fall break. I never had a fall break.
No, we didn't have fall. We had it in college.
Now I sound like an angry old man.
Yeah, welcome. I've welcomed Anthony to the dark side. All right, when we get back, you hear more of Logan Paulson's thoughts on this draft class. Plus, Greg Wyshynski talking Caps with us from ESPN at 5:30. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We are streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Caps get going in the NHL playoffs tonight. They come in riding an anti-hot streak. They are not playing good hockey. Can they turn it around? We will ask Greg Wyshynski of ESPN coming up at 5:30. And we will actually later in the week, scheduling note, Wednesday and Friday, our shows are going to be cut short, which, Anthony, we're very sad about.
It's getting ridiculous, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, we thought 7 o'clock season was here, and then lo and behold, here we are, getting thrown off the air at 6:15 because of Nats and Orioles. I blame Kevin Brown.
I do too then, since you blame him.
It's Kevin Brown, it's all your fault. It's not Kevin Brown's fault. The Capitals will be playing Wednesday and Friday as well. We'll have Nats baseball here on the Team 980, of course, normally over on our sister station 106.7 The Fan. But we have a ton of NFL draft coverage all week long, including some fresh podcasting from your boys at Take Command. That is, of course, me and Logan Paulson. And we talked this morning about Logan's process making his big board. The process argument itself was pretty fascinating. That's how we started the show. So definitely would recommend anybody who wants to go kind of inside that process to check out the full edition of Take Command wherever it is that you get your podcasts. But for now, we want to let you get some insight on some of the players and some of the key positions. So Logan has finalized his rankings when it comes to the edges, the wide receivers. I mean, obviously pretty much everyone in this class. And we pick up with the edge players and then talk about the pass catchers, which is an interesting group because it also including the tight ends. And that is today's edition of Not My Beat, Take Command style here on the Team 980. Take Command podcast, Logan Paulson there, Craig Hoffman here. Logan's big board coming to the Commander's website near you. It's just on your laptop. It's the same Commander's website for everybody. But you can also do it on your phone, your tablet. You know how the internet works. It's 2025. All right, Logan. I will read, though, from your big board. Tier 1 edges, you have Abdul Carter. Tier 2 edges, you have no one. Yeah. Tier 3, Mike Green, Jalen Walker, Mykel Williams, Shamar Stewart, Donovan Ezeraku. Is that the actual order, or is Ezeraku the final guy in tier 3, or is that just kind of how you put him in here?
Yeah, I think he's probably the final guy in tier 3, but I think just to add context, like him, Mykel Williams, and Shamar Stewart are about as close as you could possibly get. They're clustered right there, and so I think the more I've watched Donovan Ezeraku, when I first started this, when I did my first list of 10. He didn't make my list. He just, whatever reason, I didn't watch him or I didn't remember his film. But then as I've kind of revisited and gone back to him, I think he maybe outside of Mike Green has the closest kind of proximity to being a difference maker as a pass rusher right out of the gate. So I think he could be really special. So, when I see I get so excited when I see a mock draft saying, oh, he'll be available at 29. I'm that's exactly the skill set that the Commanders are looking for in terms of a guy that can be disruptive on a down-to-down basis as a pass rusher. So, I'm very, very high on him and his skill set, no doubt.
Yeah, he is very interesting because of the body type and everything. And that's the thing that makes the edge position so hard is there's going to be other teams that just probably don't even have him on the board because his skill set is the lighter kind of bendier or whatever edge is not for whatever reason something that they want or they want the bigger body type. And I think, we've talked about Shamar Stewart a lot, but he is so fascinating because he is a Myles Garrett piece of clay. And I don't say that flippantly. He is Myles Garrett size, roughly Myles Garrett's weight. It's hilarious because they went to the same school. And he is also Myles Garrett athleticism, 40-inch vertical, 11-foot broad, the whole thing. Except for Myles Garrett is incredibly productive and was incredibly productive, and thus he was a number 1 overall pick. And he did everything at an A+ level in college and has translated most of that to the NFL, and that's why he's going to go to the Hall of Fame. Shamar Stewart has never had more than a sack and a half in a season. And so what you do with that is difficult. And, where I think where I've kind of landed on Stewart is like at 29, you're never going to find a better piece of clay. So if that's the best guy available, like I'm willing to take it. If Stewart and Izaraku were somehow on the board together, which feels very, very unlikely, and I think it's very unlikely all these guys are off the board. I'd probably go in Izaraku's direction for having more proof. But if I think that's kind of the interesting thing is these guys, Williams and Walker and Stewart are pretty much all projections. And then Green, there's obviously the other off-field stuff that we know about, but he was the FBS sack leader, and Izaraku was second. So you're talking about two very different, not extremes, I guess extremes in terms of production, but two very, very different evals that wind up with roughly the same score in terms of the tier and bucket that they're in.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, Mike Green, I think could be special, but again, there's concerns about his ability to play with power consistently. But like when you watch the film, like he's just a maniac, man. He's just an absolute lunatic the way he plays the game. And I love that. And obviously the off-field stuff is a thing, but the more guys I talk to, the more people that I've talked to, they're less concerned, around the NFL. They're less concerned about the off-field stuff. So I'm kind of putting my hat in that, and that the people that I've talked to don't seem to be concerned about it. So I'm becoming less concerned about it. And then obviously as you go down the list, like, Jalen Walker, is that his name? Jalen from Jalen Walker. I mean,
by the way, if people see me on YouTube looking down, it's because I have the beast with me here. The hard copy version that Logan is definitely not jealous that I have.
I'm very jealous of it.
At all.
I've been fussing around on my phone for weeks with that thing. Anyway, so then Jalen Walker to me is a projection. I think he's, but when you watch him, there's a physicality and a competitive toughness and an intellect that seems to show up. Michael Williams, again, when you watch his 2023 stuff, you understand why people thought he was going to be a top 10 pick this year. Like he's playing on one leg. He's got this ankle injury the whole year. And I just think the road for him to get to the NFL is so short. He's like going to be such a good player right out the gate. And then we just talked about Shamar Stewart and Donovan Izaraku. And I think, again, like those guys are kind of your flavor. And I think they're like 23 or like 22 and 23 respectively, if you're going on order on my big board. So I think they're really good football players. I think they're going to get pushed up in a class where there's not a ton of talent, but man, like if Izaraku or Shamar Stewart were there at 29, which seems extremely unlikely, I think that'd be a great fit for the Washington Commanders.
So you listened to the conversation that I had with Jeremy about James Pierce. And I feel like we should talk about him for a second as well. He's the top of tier 4 for you on the edges.
Yeah.
Hearing what Jeremy had to say, and also like you got him in tier 4, he's got him 6 overall. So there's a huge difference in evaluation on the player, as well as, kind of, I think the comfort level on what you're hearing. In terms of, the effort level, who he is as a kid, all that kind of stuff. Where have you landed on Pierce and why have you landed tier 4 on Pierce at this point in the process?
So there's a couple things that kind of go into this. One is, I think, is Pierce a great athlete? Sure. But is he a very specific type of rusher? That's also true. And so what I mean by that is like he is a pure speed. They call them high rushers. So I'm going to rush high on the tackles, outside shoulder, and really try to win with speed, kind of chasing the arc. When I look at guys in the NFL, like those guys, yes, like Vic Beasley is a good example of this. Like, can you be productive doing that? Yeah, but
he had one good year.
Yeah, the consistent year-on-year production is more challenging to come by because it's easier to deal with that guy, right? Like I used to talk to Vic when I was with him in Atlanta and be like, if you could just bull like 10% of the time, you'd have 15 sacks every year, but you don't want to. And so when I see this rush profile that James Pierce brings, where I'm rushing high, I don't always use power. I have it, but I don't use it. And I'm a little bit stiff. I'm like, how effective is that? Now, if he was crystal clear, no off-field stuff, like maybe I'd be a little bit higher on him, but I generally don't like that rush profile generally. You know what I mean? It just makes me nervous because of the people that I've played with that have played like that. And I've blocked people like that. And it's like, okay, I'm just going to set vertical. You're going to run at my upfield shoulder. I'm going to keep setting. You're going to keep chasing. And eventually, like, you're going to run yourself out of the play. He has a little bit of that to him. Now, I'm not saying he does that all the time. There's times where he beats you inside. There's stuff that he does well. But I think people get so caught up with the 40 time, the twitch, and you should, because those are important things for playing the position. But I think there's other things, other players that I like more at the spot in terms of play style, consistent effort, like I want to bet on, And so then I know Jeremy said that he's talked to a bunch of people. I got to call Jeremy and figure out who he talked to about it, because like almost every person to a man that I've spoken to about James Pierce Jr. has said that the staff there is not super stoked on him. So for whatever that's worth, like I trust Jeremy. He's does a great job researching, but I just haven't found those people that he's talking to. And again, it could be, a false positive, whatever it is, but that the play style coupled with the off-field stuff is just so risky. Like even in that tier 4, like I know he's the first guy in tier whatever that is, tier 4 or 5.
Tier 4, yeah.
Like I like Nick Gordon, I like Landon Jackson, and I like JT Tuimoloau more than him. I think they're better football players. I think I'm betting a little bit on the athlete, and that teams are going to see this athlete and be like, we can get him coached up. But in terms of guys that are more ready right now, those other 3 guys, man, I think they're awesome. I think those are Commanders football players, and I still have questions about James Pierce Jr. and his ability to be quote unquote a Commander.
Yeah, and that's where I ultimately land with this is I hear Jeremy's argument that University of Tennessee, as Jeremy said at the end of that conversation, like, look what just happened with their quarterback and pull the string. You pull the string and you're like, oh, Tennessee's a mess as a program. Their NIL collective is like one of the most ridiculous ones in the country. They are paying kids out the wazoo. And at 20, 21 years old, that might create a sense of entitlement, a way about you that doesn't come off great. And there's definitely a chance you mature out of that. But in the first round of the NFL draft, are the Washington Commanders going to take someone who does not have the Commander's tag? I think there's no way, absolutely no way that Adam Peters is going to do that. And even if they think that, if they got him in the 3rd round, could they help in their environment, and Dan Quinn and Adam and, the staff, the other players they brought in, a guy like a Dietrich Wise, incredible mentor, like, could they get something great out of James Pierce? I definitely think that's possible. That's not an unreasonable thing to question. But he's not going to get the Commander tag. Like, he's not going to earn that based off of who he is right now. And if that's the case, he's not getting drafted by them in the 1st round. Now I say that definitively, and watch they'll take him in the 1st round and be like, well, we trust our people, and we think he's an athlete, and if so, like, great. And to me, that would tell us that there's enough there inside him that they think they can get it out, and it really is immaturity, and immaturity can turn to maturity with age and guidance. But I just have a really hard time believing that anybody who doesn't have the Commander's tag is going to be their first pick in this draft, and I don't see him as a guy who has that.
Yeah, and it shows up on film a little bit too. And I think that's the other thing. Like, talk about Mike Green and his off-field stuff. We've talked about that a little bit, but like, he plays like an absolute psycho. Jalen Walker, psycho. Like those other guys, Shamar Stewart, say what you want about him, but like, he plays like he wants to get in a car accident every play. Landon Jackson, same thing. Nick Gordon, same thing, right? So like, if I'm betting on somebody, and then you watch James Pierce Jr. and he's kind of, the ball's away and he's kind of moping around, jogging. He's not super consistent with his effort against the run. You're like, again, when these other guys are willing, it's seemingly, to die on the football field for you, like, I'm going to go in that direction. I'm going to invest in that. Donovan Ezeraku, same thing, man. He plays hard. Like, and I want that. And again, I'm an old blue collar blocking tight end, right? And I think about players that I don't want to play. And those are the guys that come up. And I've played guys like, who are great pass rushers that take plays off, and they are going to be Hall of Famers, right? But the guys that I would lose sleep over at night were the guys that played absolutely like psychos and played hard. And I think that's where there's just so many guys that play that way. So why would I risk it with someone that I'm unsure about, even though he's a tremendous athlete? And again, he's the number 1 guy in my tier 4 because I think people are going to bet on the athlete. But if Logan Paulson, GM, is sitting on the table, I'm like, shoot, I want Landon Jackson, I want Nick Gordon, I want Tuimoloau from Ohio State. Like, those are the guys, like, when you watch them, I'm just like, they're not, the ceiling isn't there, but the floor is so high, and just like good cultural pieces. So that's kind of where I fall on it. And again, if they drafted James Pierce Jr., am I excited as a Commanders fan? Absolutely, because he's got something special in terms of athletic juice and upside. But again, I'm a little bit dubious that they go that direction, because I think there's just other people at the spot that are going to play hard for you all the time.
Is there anybody else tier 5, tier 6 that you are really, really pumped about if they draft and you think fits kind of both the off field from what you know and the on field profile of what they want? So as you said, you got Pierce, Scorton, Jackson, Tuamalau in tier 4. Tier 5 starts with Femi Oladejo and goes from there.
Femi Oladejo, I mean, gosh, man, like talk about a commander. Like, and I'm probably a little bit higher on him than like the national media, but like watching his leadership, watching his play style, like it just screams commander to me. I do think Uman Yellen from Ole Miss is interesting because he's kind of this pass rush project that could develop. Braden Swinson from LSU has that same kind of commandery type feel, good length, understands how to win. And then you got a guy like Jack Sawyer, who again, I think a lot of people probably have higher than me, but plays hard, smart, instinctive football player. I worry about his ceiling. You know, I think on the podcast, Jeremy said, "Oh, he reminds me a little bit of Hubbard from Cincinnati." I think that's a great comp. That's exactly what he reminds me of. But the thing about Hubbard is he plays hard and he's been a consistent starter for 7 years in the NFL. And so if that's what you're getting in like the bottom of the second, early third round, like that feels like a winning combination as far as Commanders football players go. And then I know we're talking about edge rushers, but another guy that I'm a little bit lower on than the consensus that I just feel like I need to throw out there for Commanders tag is Tyler Booker from Alabama. Like he is, everybody you talk to said this guy is like a leader. He understands football. He wants to be great. And again, the athletic testing is a little bit on the low side, which is why he's down the list for me. But God bless, like from anybody you talk to, anybody that's given him an interview is just like, he's got that vibe to him. And so again, just to kind of give another name that people might not be thinking about for the Commanders, but I think would be an interesting fit there at 29.
Yeah, that definitely, and I've seen him mocked all over the place. You see him in the 50s sometimes. You see him in the, like there is a possibility that he's available for them at 61. That feels very unlikely. There's also a possibility he's gone at 12 or 13,
which is crazy.
And there's just that's something else about this class too that I think is interesting.
That's exactly what I was going to say. You know, I kind of facetiously on one of the shows I did 2 weeks ago with the Command Center guys, I said there's not a difference between 5 and 40, and I kind of was like joking around when I said that. But after doing this, I was like, there's really not. Like, it's really, truly, you could probably push that to 55 if you wanted to. But there's really, truly like, I like this player more than this player. And it's totally subjective. Like one for me that's really interesting on the big board is Malachi Starks versus Nick Emenwari. Like Malachi Starks is like my 8th player or something like that, just because I trust the film so much when I watch it. But if you said I'm actually higher on Nick Emenwari, I'm going to take him at 8. You're not wrong. Like the athletic upside that he brings is 100% there. I just value different things than you. And I think you just go through every player. We were talking about Matthew Golden earlier compared to Tetro McMillan. Like, it's just like that for a big chunk of this draft. So in some ways, I think it's better that the Commanders are picking at 29 because there's going to be a plethora, a cornucopia of good football players there. You just got to make sure you've identified the commander of this group.
Yeah, for sure. I want to talk more about the receiving group in a second, and kind of some last minute thoughts on positionally where Washington could go. But there's a couple things that then are kind of side effects of that. And I thought Dame was talking about this on their show the other day, where it's kind of like, hey, someone's got to be my 8th player. The guy like Malachi Starks in a normal draft, in last year's draft, is comfortably in the 20s. And you're like, that's kind of where a player of that caliber belongs. Perfect. And you're like, he's a safety. He could be really good, but like not a prime position in a lot of ways. And there's some real question marks, like kind of what's his position? Is he a nickel? Is he a safety? Like you get the right usage package and he's Brian Branch, and like that would be sweet. And in that way, if the Jets took him at 7 or traded back and took him at 12 because the Cowboys want to go up and get Tet McMillan or something, like that's a great fit. Like Aaron Glenn gets Malachi Starks. You're like, oh, crap, that dude's going to be a Pro Bowler. You could also see him being a total bust if he goes to the wrong spot. Jahdae Barron, same thing. Like these guys are the types of guys that you'd want in the 20s. And there's not enough guys to push them down. Somebody's got to be, like if you could have blank spots for the top 5, then put Genty, Carter, and who's your other tier 1 guy, Hunter, at like 6, 7, and 8. Leave 8 through 20 blank and then start your board from there.
Yeah.
That's how this board should look. But the problem is there's not players. And ultimately, you're ranking the players in this class. And I think that is something that we're just going to have to remember for these guys for the rest of their careers. If guys underachieve based off of their draft status, is like, it's not their fault they came out in a weak class. You take who's the best player available, and that also is obviously going to affect the trades, because you could get a team that falls in love with a player and wants to trade up. But if everyone kind of agrees that 15 to 40 or 10 to 40 or 6 to 40 is the same, then like, why would you trade up? And thus that makes it really hard to trade down, because that's how that works. You can't trade down to yourself.
Dude, it's a great point. And it was so, like, I've said that. And then, but doing this, I was like, holy cow. Like, you know, like the difference between, I don't know, Jaden Higgins and Tetro McMillan is marginal. Like, I think Tetro's better, but it's marginal. Like, if you were in a dark room and we're in a draft room and you're like, I think Jaden Higgins is better than Tetro McMillan, like, I could see it. Like, I'm not like, that's not like a crazy thing to say.
I mean, you just talked about how much you love Loveland, right? How different is Terrence Ferguson than Colston Loveland?
That's a great point, man. It's a great point, because in terms of body type, they're almost exactly the same. They're like the same height. They're about the same weight. I think Loveland has a little bit more route running technicality, but the athletes are like, you change the uniform, it's like, well, who's who? And so again, like, that's, I think very highly of Terrence Ferguson, obviously, but it's a great point. It's a great point. And I think it's just one of those things where I think no player maybe typifies this better than like Mason Taylor from LSU, the tight end. Like, I was for the longest time, I didn't know what to do with him. I didn't know where he fit. I was like, what's the deal? So I started talking to some of my buddies in the league, some scouts that I know, whatever. And it was just like, I trust him. And when they said that, I was just like, he's going to be like a borderline first round pick in this draft, because it's like,
I think he could be.
Yeah. Because you're comparing him to other people with character issues, with, you know, work ethic issues. And all of a sudden, like, when a coach says that, or when a scout says that, I trust him in a landscape like this. Like, that's valuable, and that's going to go much higher. And I think like that's maybe the perfect iteration of that. Like, I trust Colston Loveland when I watch the tape. I know what he's going to be. Same thing with Mason Taylor.
All right, so let's wrap this conversation up with a couple of positions that maybe aren't the top of the Commanders' needs list, but there could be really interesting players available, and Logan's big board kind of illustrates that. So we'll do that to wrap up the show next. All right, if you want to hear that and the conversation that preceded what you just heard about how Logan put his big board together and why it was such a kind of hard experience for him this year, definitely want to check out Take Command wherever you get your podcasts. When we get back here on the Hoffman Show, Capitals, they are kicking off their hopeful Stanley Cup hunt tonight. The journey begins at home against Montreal. ESPN's Greg Wyshynski, their national hockey writer, joins us to discuss here on the Team 9-8. I never thought in my life I would say if it's Juicy J, it means we're talking Caps. But then Alex Ovechkin and the Capitals of 2025 changed history. Of course, that's not the only history Ovechkin made this year. And now he's hoping to make even more with a deep playoff run. Capitals get going in the Stanley Cup playoffs tonight. The game is on, of course, Monumental Sports Network, also on ESPN. And to talk about it with us and what kind of chances the Caps have, we bring back to the show ESPN senior NHL writer Greg Wyshynski. Greg, thanks as always for joining us, man.
It's my pleasure. I'm happy the Caps are back in the playoffs and thriving. They were in last year, but they're thriving now. They're not just like visiting. They have a chance to go far.
They do, although the thriving made me feel a lot better, and I would enthusiastically agree like a week ago. And then they closed the season like they did, Greg. And then on the other side of this, the Montreal Canadiens needed to catch fire to make the playoffs. They did. So you have a 1 seed that limped in, an 8 seed that's on fire coming in. How concerned should the 1 seed, our beloved Washington Capitals, be about that?
Well, listen, the Caps' problems, I think, can be chalked up to some injuries, some of which they're still dealing with. They could be chalked up to not really having had anything to play for about a month and a half. And it could be chalked up to how weird things got when, like, the director of the FBI and Wayne Gretzky keep showing up to your games for like a weekend, for like 2 weeks. There was a bit of a distraction there for a little bit. I think they're going to be fine. There is cause for concern because the Canadiens do fit the template of a team that could pull an upset, like you said, not only having to play important hockey games down the stretch while the Caps did not, but also having some really good, enthusiastic, dynamic young players that could be game changers in Lane Hudson and now Ivan Davidoff. And really, overall a roster that's probably too dumb to understand what playoff pressure feels like. But that being said, they also can't defend. And to me, that's the biggest point in this series is that if you look at Montreal, even during this push to make the playoffs, since the Four Nations tournament, they're 29th in the league in expected goals against at 5-on-5. They don't defend well enough to win in the playoffs. They're like a minus 21 goal differential on the season. And the Caps, to me, have enough offensive depth to really take advantage of that in the series.
Of course, the biggest injury question for the Capitals is between the pipes themselves on their defensive side of it. What do we know about the Caps goaltending situation both tonight and moving forward?
Well, I didn't see a call for tonight. Obviously, I think Spencer Carberry has kind of played it coy as far as what Logan Thompson's availability is going to ultimately be for tonight. But, I mean, I think we're all assuming he's going to see action in the series. I mean, it's a luxury to have two guys that you have confidence in, and I think the Caps do have two guys they have confidence in. And to me, it's important to get them both healthy and going because I think when you look around the Eastern Conference, the Capitals goaltending could be a real advantage. It's an advantage in this series. And it certainly could be an advantage if it's Carolina that advances past the Devils, which looks like it's probably going to happen based on Game 1, because I think the Achilles heel for that Carolina team, besides sometimes their struggle to get that one goal they need in the playoffs, is obviously what they have between the pipes versus what Washington could have. So hopefully Logan Thompson's ready to go. He had an incredible season up until the last couple of weeks before his injury. And I'm excited to see what both him and Lindgren can bring to the proceedings in the playoffs.
So for Thompson, how I hate to say concerned because it sounds like now I'm just like in full on worry, panic mode, and all of my questions so far have been, but how could it go wrong? Here for Greg Wyshynski, the senior NHL writer for ESPN, who's with us here on the Hoffman Show. But I'll ask you this way, more neutral question. What's the precedent for a goalie coming back off an injury and the ability to regain form quickly in these high pressure moments that are NHL playoff hockey?
I like your anxiety. It's kind of a throwback to before when they won the Cup, where every postseason discussion about the Capitals was like, how are they going to screw it up this time?
Well, just wait for my next one then, Greg, because boy, I'm going to really light the lamp with that one, so to speak. Pun terribly intended.
I miss those days of walking into the arena and just feeling tension in the air at all times. Well, no, I mean he hasn't played for a bit, so obviously you got to get back in the game. You got to have some shots on goal, feel yourself again. And on top of that, obviously adapt to the speed that comes with all of a sudden the playoff switch getting flipped. But I mean, he's been great for them this year. I mean, beyond expectation, and from the contracts the Caps handed out to their goalies to the accolades they've received by the organization, it's pretty clear they have confidence in both. So I would be surprised if goaltending ends up subverting them in a playoff series like this.
So the I have anxiety, but I need you to tell me it's going to be okay question is basically the Caps have had so many playoff runs that, they win the President's Trophy or they're just a top seed or a favorite, whichever version of that. Of course, here, no President's Trophy, but the top seed in the East, that have come up short for a variety of reasons over the Ovechkin era outside of 2018 where they finally got the cup. Why would this one be different? What is it about this Caps team that most experts seem to feel like they're not necessarily the favorites in the NHL, but like it seems like most people I talk to about this, Greg, feel pretty good about this Caps team. Why?
Well, they feel good about them in this series. I think like overall, they're probably conservatively like the fifth choice. I mean, I think that there's definitely people that are on. There are definitely people that feel like the winner of that Battle of Florida series could win the cup. There are definitely people that feel like the Leafs are better than the Capitals, and there are definitely people that feel like Carolina will take them out in the next round. So I don't think in any way are they the favorite coming out of the East, even based on their regular season record. What's interesting about this team versus the teams that in the pre-cup years would disappoint is you could make the argument that Ovechkin's the only star on the team, and by that I mean you're not waiting on some of the other guys that the Caps used to have to wait on to have good postseasons, and sometimes they would and sometimes they wouldn't. I think there certainly is more of a widespread effort on the roster, like different hero every night, everybody kind of pulling their weight type stuff that happens with this team. And I'm excited to see exactly how much some of the supporting cast can contribute. Two guys in particular. I mean, one's Ryan Leonard. Like we talked about the two guys that have energized the Canadiens this year, including Davidoff, who comes in late. I mean, Ryan Leonard comes in late for the Caps, and he's been awesome. I mean, I can't – and his resume is filled with big moments in postseason tournaments and international tournaments. And the other guy is Pierre-Luc Dubois, who obviously has had a resurgent year for them ever since they bought low on him from the LA Kings. But, in talking to Caps management earlier this season for a story – it was pretty clear that the way he played for the Blue Jackets in that one playoff series against the Caps was like one of the reasons they bought him in. Like they think that he can be a huge difference maker in the postseason in a way that he hasn't been in previous stops. So I'm intrigued to see if every other bet they've made on this guy has paid off this year, and I wonder if this one will pay off too.
Last question for Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN. Is there any way the Capitals can have playoff success if it doesn't involve Alex Ovechkin being genuinely great?
No, not at all. I mean, like he's their leading goal scorer. And the other part about the playoffs that's been kind of interesting, and we'll see if the trend continues in this series, a lot of power plays. You look across the league, there's been a lot of penalties called, a lot of power plays, a lot of power play goals. Overall in the league this year, they had the power plays on average had the highest conversion rate, I think, since like the mid 1980s. So
wow.
The power plays, been great across the board for the league, and obviously we know what Ovi can do on the power play. So it may set up for him in the early part of this series to really make an impact on special teams. But yeah, I mean, listen, he not only is it important from a numbers on the scoreboard perspective, but we know what happens to this team when he scores, and we know how much enthusiasm and uplift that comes with him scoring, especially on home ice. We know where he'll end up in the MVP voting. He probably won't be very high because his name has not necessarily been in circulation. But anyone who watches the Caps knows that when Ovi scores, it has a transformative effect sometimes for the way the game is played and the flow of game, and I expect that's going to be a factor in this series.
Would be a lot of fun, especially if you can get them going at home tonight. Greg Wyshynski, senior NHL writer for ESPN. Catch all of their Stanley Cup coverage on ESPN.com. And, of course, they're carrying a ton of the games on ESPN's slew of television networks. Greg, appreciate your time. It's always great to have you on, dude. Really appreciate it. And hopefully this is a long run so we can have you back.
Would love to. Thanks for having me.
All right, this is Greg Wyshynski, everybody, with us here on the Hoffman Show. When we get back, weekend in review, Anthony, I believe is what's on the rundown.
Yes, sir.
All right, weekend. We tell you what else happened this weekend, although there wasn't really a main story. So we'll tell you everything in the whole wide world of sports that happened this weekend next here on the Team 980. Why have we never used this as rejoin music before, Anthony?
Do you know whose theme song this is?
Oh, this is now you're doing wrestling bits.
John Cena, baby.
Okay, Anthony, you get 45 seconds to talk about WrestleMania. Go.
All right,
your weekend preview still brought to you by nobody.
Yes, it is brought to us by nobody. So, Craig, I watched one WrestleMania match, and it happened to be John Cena's last final WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 41. He took on Cody Rhodes, and I was talking to Rooster about it. He didn't really like the match because it wasn't enough interferences. Usually, there are multiple wrestlers like The Rock or like Roman Reigns, like somebody's going to interfere in the main event of WrestleMania, and there was only one, Travis Scott. He got crossroaded yesterday, which was actually hilarious. It was my favorite part of the match. But yeah, Rooster wanted more drama, more cinema to it.
That was actually pretty well timed.
Thank you.
You actually did that in like 43 seconds. I'm actually.
Look, I was looking up there.
It's amazing what you can do with the clock when you actually look at it. Maybe that's Rooster's problem. Maybe we should have him look at the clock.
Probably.
Does Sheehan have a clock in his studio?
I mean, he does to his left, but I guess he is facing this way, so.
We need to relocate that clock. Anyway, that's an inside radio joke. Cool. It's a TV show. And again, if you want to enjoy the TV show, that's fine. It's scripted television. And I got no problem with anyone who enjoys scripted television movies. Like, it's a form of entertainment. It's not. It also I'm not saying it doesn't take athleticism. It's not a sport. Because it's not an actual competition. Because they decide who wins beforehand. So that's.
It is entertaining, though.
Sure. It's not my favorite show, but I'm not going to yuck anyone else's yum.
And I respect it, Greg. I respect it.
So I'm glad you enjoyed it. I wish the Rooster enjoyed it more.
Yeah.
There's Craig's WrestleMania recap. All right. What else happened this weekend? Brought to you by
nobody, Craig.
I'm going to start with the Washington Spirit because they deserve it. The Washington Spirit are the battled, like walking wounded. They have more talent on their injury report than most teams in the league have on their entire rosters. The Spirit right now, it was announced actually on Friday evening, maybe Saturday morning, one of those two, that Trinity Rodman, for my money, the best player in the world on the women's in women's soccer, Spirit forward, U.S. women's national team forward, of course, as well, in the international side, that she is going to go to a specialist in London for her back. This is the back injury that late last year in a match against Orlando, she got taken off in a wheelchair after it spazzed up so bad on her. It has been bothering her ever since. She has still been insanely effective, but it's been an issue. She took a lot of time off this winter, worked her way back. It still is not right. And she actually even recently said in an interview that she is just going to have to deal with it for the rest of her career. And apparently, if someone else was like, no, we're going to get this thing checked out by someone else. And so she is going to London to get her back checked out. So she is out for the foreseeable future. Croy Bethune, rookie of the year last year and midfielder of the year in the league last year, had a knee injury, that freakish knee injury that happened while she tore her meniscus while throwing out the first pitch at the Nats game after the Olympics last year. She was ready to come off of the injury list for that. They actually took her off the list, and then all of a sudden she reemerged with a hip injury and still hasn't played this year. Hal Hirschfeld, their other Olympian, she got a nasty sprained ankle in a match, 6 to 8 week injury. We're 5 weeks into that. Casey Kruger, their other Olympian, yeah, they have a lot of them. She has a knee injury. On down the list. They had two players, Anthony, that played on Saturday with clubs on their hands because they're soccer players and they don't need to use their hands. Although Gabby Carl still had to figure out how to do throw-ins because she's an outside back.
Yeah, that is bad injury luck.
It's not good. It's not good. And yet, they went on the road at defending champion Orlando, who hasn't lost in forever, and they won 1-0. They got all 3 points at Orlando. They were very much playing just to try to hold the shutout. Can we get out of here with a tie? And one of their new signees, Gift Monday, real name, Gift Monday, got an actual gift. The Orlando keeper tried to play with her food a little bit, so to speak. Tried to get a little too cute clearing the ball. Monday took the ball from her, tapped it into the net. Bang, bang, 1-0. They hold on. And somehow, some way, with bubble gum, scotch tape, still a crazy amount of talent across their back line. Tara McKeown, Rebecca Bernal, Esme Morgan, Aubrey Kingsbury holding it down in the back. They found a way to win. This team is, like, I'm going to start talking about them more on the radio because they deserve it. One, because they're genuinely a phenomenal team. Their coach, Jonathan Heraldez, that dude is worth every cent they are paying him. But also, they're going to be playing Gotham this weekend. New York, the team from New York, Gotham FC, coming to town. I believe it's already sold out. So, like, people care. And so at some point I just go, why are we not talking about them more? And so I think folks know, like, if there was ever going to be anyone to talk about the Spirit more in DC sports radio, it was going to be me anyway. But they're selling out every game, and they're doing crazy, awesome stuff on the field. We're talking about them more. That's the majority of our weekend in review. That's how I spent my weekend, being happy about that.
Nah, that's smooth. I mean, we're going to get out to some games. I thoroughly enjoyed my time.
You better get ahead of it,
we
bro.
Need more people.
You better get ahead of it, bro, because they're sold out. Like, I can't get tickets for friends right now. They're
God
like, hey,
dang.
if some come available, we'll let you know first. And I got the inside hookup on that one. We were going to bring some of our friends this weekend to the game, and we could not get them tickets. So, yeah, that's where we're at right now. I think there's some tickets in, like, other sections potentially available, but, like, normally it's like, yeah, we can find some tickets in our section. Nope. Literally none available. Other than that, Formula One this weekend, crazy beginning to the race, and then it was kind of boring from there. Oscar Piastri beat Max Verstappen off the line, got the inside track into turn one, squeezed Max a little bit. I think that Max Verstappen was assessed a penalty for corner cutting because he was like, fine, you're going to push me off. I'm just going to drive straight through this corner and pull out ahead of you, and then didn't give back the position. Ultimately had to give it back when he had to stop for 5 seconds during his pit stop. Oscar Piastri wins the race. Charles Leclerc, great weekend for Ferrari, gets back up to third. Lando Norris really screwed himself over in qualifying, crashed, and started 10th, and thus was only able to finish fourth. So Piastri now ahead in the Drivers' Championship for Formula One. Anything else? All the NBA playoff action we're going to talk about next. Anything else we should mention? Obviously, there's the other NHL action that happened this weekend, but any other things that we had in the weekend preview, for instance, that we should mention here now that it's over?
Nah, because we talked about WrestleMania already.
Oh, yeah. That's true. The Orioles gave up 7,000 runs yesterday.
That was 24-2?
I'm gonna name drop, spill secret, not secrets here, but because there's nothing on his side of it. So I walked into the prep studio today and the TV was on, and it was the Masson encore of that game. And I saw the score, and I didn't see the encore thing first, and I thought the Orioles were maybe playing sometimes they'll do wraparound series, and Monday's a getaway day. I saw they were down like 15-1, and I just go, oh, no, not again. And I took a picture of the screen. I quickly realized that it was the encore, but I took a picture of the screen and texted that to Kevin Brown and was like, I thought for a second that it was happening again, and I was starting to feel real bad for you. But no, it was just the encore on Masson. But that was that. The Nationals, I somehow missed the National scores this weekend. They were in Colorado. How'd it go, Anthony?
I don't know.
More of this professional sports show next. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980. We're always live as well on the free Odyssey app. And then I just saw a funny reel. I'm going to take 30 seconds here to tell you about it because you will appreciate this, and anybody else who's a hooper will appreciate this as well. But it was this girl doing a workout, like Lady Hooper doing a workout. And basketball is my piece. Also me. And in the workout, she like tries to hit a crossover and like loses the dribble and then kicks the mess out of the ball like up into the rafters.
Yep.
We've all been there.
Yes.
We've all been there. And then the second we kick it, we just start laughing because you're like, what an idiot I am.
Yeah, that was so dumb. Now I got to go chase the ball.
Luckily for her, it hit a ceiling beam and came pretty much back down. So she didn't have to go that far. But yeah, it's just like, this is my sanctuary. You mother. We've all been there. Move on there. In fact, some teams in the Eastern Conference have been there because this Eastern Conference playoffs this weekend, Anthony, not the world's most interesting place. We're going to talk about it. We'll talk about the West in a second. And then I would like to talk about the Nico Harrison press conference today at 6:30. The Mavs general manager who, again, stop talking, bro. Free advice for Nico Harrison coming up at 6:30. But also, like, free advice from someone who used to do a lot of basketball coverage in Dallas. So I actually think I have a little bit of a unique perspective on that situation. This weekend, the Eastern Conference playoffs were not very compelling. The Bucks and Pacers, the Pacers ran the Bucks out of the gym in the first half and then held on pretty thoroughly in the second. Giannis had 36 and 12, but ultimately this series gets a lot more interesting tomorrow night because Damian Lillard gets back. And I will say this, Anthony, losing game one on the road without one of your two best players, whatever. If this had been reversed, if they had already dropped one in Milwaukee, I think that is bigger cause for concern. Because if they can go in and win game three, they can still get out of there with a split. They go home. They have Dame. They got Giannis. I still feel good about Milwaukee in that series. Even if you go down 2-0, you win game three, win game four, nobody's won a road game yet. Series doesn't start until someone wins on the road. Unfortunately, sometimes that's also when series end, but that's how it goes in the NBA playoffs. But they obviously need to be a lot better offensively, and Dame Lillard is going to help with that tremendously. You can't score 96 against the Pacers and expect to win a playoff game.
Yeah, that's all it was. Giannis just needed some help. The role players didn't give too much, and when you don't have your other star to, compliment you, you can run into that problem. But, yeah, getting Dame back for game two, essential.
The Pistons, they were in great shape, and then they weren't. As Tom Thibodeau said, Jalen Brunson went back to the locker room in the fourth quarter and apparently put on his cape. Unbelievable fourth quarter for Brunson and the Knicks. Karl Anthony Towns had a couple big moments as well. 123-112, the final score. A 40-21 fourth quarter for New York. That included, what did it get up to? Was it 23-25 run? That was nasty.
I think it was just 21.
Was it just 21? But then it was like 25-2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Like, it was, you can't do that in the fourth quarter of a playoff game. And that was a rude awakening for a Pistons team. And I think this goes one of two ways. Either this is, hey, man, that was your shot. Night-night, Detroit. And this is just, you're going to get big brother because the Knicks have experience and have been there and you haven't. Or do the Pistons go, whoa, okay, all right, we see you. We understand now. And do they come out and win game two and say, we're not going to do that again? Because for 3/4 of this game, Detroit was the better team.
Now, they were the better team. And to be honest, those waning moments, the fourth quarter when you got to show up and be great, I don't think the Pistons have that experience yet. So, like, as good as they are, they're definitely a young team still. Cade's in year 4, I think. So, like, they're still learning how to, win these big games and things of that nature. So, I think with time, they'll be able to get it done. But this series is going to probably prove to be too much. I still think it goes like 6 or 7, but I think the Knicks will be able to edge them out.
And then Sunday games in the Eastern Conference. The Celtics, they're really good, man.
They're too good.
They're nasty. Paolo Banchero, welcome to the playoffs, 36-11, but not nearly enough. The Magic scored under 20 points in 3 of the 4 quarters.
Yeah, I mean, the Celtics, that's what they do. They defend, man, literally all over the floor. Drew, Derek, you got Peyton Pritchard off the bench. They just got too much, man. And the thing is, their stars didn't even have big games. You look at Jason Tatum, you look at Jaylen Brown, they didn't do too much, but guess who did? Peyton Pritchard and Derek White. They showed up.
They have enough dudes who can put the ball in the bucket, and boy, do they. And then the Heat Cavs, how about a Ty Jerome 28-point performance for Cleveland in 26 minutes? What?
Hey,
and oh, by the way, Donovan Mitchell had 30.
Yeah. I mean, Ty Jerome, though, he's been doing this all season. This is part of the reason he's in the running for 6th Man of the Year. And you need that. We saw it last year with Naj Reid, the run he had, 6th Man of the Year. Ty Jerome is doing the same exact thing this year. And you just got to be wary of him, man. Like, that dude, he can score, man. He can score.
I have a question. I don't know if you know this answer. Are Donovan Mitchell and Davion Mitchell related?
No, they are not.
I'm not just asking because they wear the same number and have the same last name. Those two dudes move very similarly.
Yep.
Like their builds, the way they move around the floor. Like, watch them and tell them that that's not at least a fair question.
Yeah, they were defending each other, and they were talking about Mitchell on Mitchell crime.
It's the Spider-Man meme. Obviously, Donovan's a lot
exactly.
better. Donovan's a lot better than Davion, but it's like, why are you moving just like me? Like, they're both like built dudes who are really, really quick. They're really like jumpy in their movement patterns. There's just like an athleticism that kind of oozes out in the way that they move around the floor. And again, they're similar builds. They wear the same number, and they have the same last name. So, but apparently they're not related.
No, it just
not according to Anthony Haney.
Very ironic that they do wear the same number and move the same.
For sure. All right, the Western Conference had one game that was at least interesting. We'll talk about that. Actually, the Western Conference, I would say, was more interesting. For sure. One game that was close. In fact, it went to overtime. We'll talk about the West next. But first, the latest from the world of women's sports. It's presented to you by Wawa. Chicken how you wanna with customizable, roasted, or crispy chicken sandwiches. Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free, he said, Odyssey app, where tomorrow night you will hear not tomorrow night, Wednesday night you will be able to hear the Nationals and Orioles. Wednesday, Friday, we got Nats this week because the Capitals are taking precedent over on 106.7 The Fan. Of course, the Fan is where you can catch both of those teams all year long. We've got Wizards, Mystics, and much, much more on the college side. All your University of Maryland athletics here on the Team 980. Nobody does live sports like Odyssey here in D.C. But we got NBA playoffs happening, not on our air because, unfortunately, the Wizards are not a part of it this year. Something that we hope is Wizard adjacent did happen today, though, Anthony. The announcement from Cooper Flagg that he is entering the NBA draft. So whatever deity it is that you pray to, you think they control the NBA lottery. Cross them fingers. Cross them toes. That dude will change the franchise. But Western Conference playoffs is what we're going to look at now. And then one team that is not participating because they got smoked in their play-in chances was the Dallas Mavericks. And then their GM, Nico Harrison, decided to hold a press conference because it's the right thing to do at the end of a season. But boy, was it not pretty when that went down earlier today. So we'll put a final body blow into Nico Harrison and the Luka trade. There's also a huge ESPN.com story this morning on it. So we'll get into that coming up at 6:30. But the Saturday games, Anthony, started with what was the best game of any of the game ones in the playoffs. The Clippers and Nuggets go to overtime. And I should say it was the closest game because there was a lot of bad ball late in that game in overtime. It just, like, nobody wanted to win it. Nobody made the plays, and then eventually enough stuff happened, and James Harden made enough plays down the stretch. 32 points, 6 rebounds, 11 assists for Harden. Harden made enough plays to get them to overtime and keep them in it, but ultimately not the final play the Clippers can't make, and Nikola Jokic and Russell Westbrook and company get it done. 29, 9, and 12 for Jokic. Westbrook, the final defensive play to knock the ball off of Harden out of bounds. And, like, this game in many ways, Anthony, was reminiscent of an NCAA tournament game. It wasn't the highest caliber of basketball that we expect to see, but the intensity was there, and part of some of the, I don't want to call it sloppiness, but like some of the mistakes were happening because the intensity was so high. This is going to be a banger of a series.
Yeah, I didn't like Kawhi turning the ball over. Also, the Clippers having just 20 turnovers in general is just like, bro, this is the playoffs. Like,
hard to win like that.
You cannot afford to, continue to turn the ball all over at the rate that they were doing that. But you also got to salute, the Nuggets. But I think, comparing it to the NCAA Final Four and, even the championship game where it wasn't, perfect basketball play and it was a lot of defense going on. So I expect the Clippers, though, to bounce back. They're going to clean up those turnovers. They should be able to handle this series, to be honest.
They should.
We'll see.
We'll see. I mean, the best player in the world is on the other side, and he certainly can have something to do with it. Luka Doncic for the first quarter for the Lakers looked like he might be the best player in the world. And unfortunately, he didn't get a whole lot of help. And then the Timberwolves made some adjustments. 28-21 was the score at the end of one. And then the T-Wolves came out in the second quarter and blitzed your Lakers 38-20. Outscored them by 18 in the quarter. And then LA closed, by the way, with a tepid 17-point fourth quarter. Doncic, at the end of this one, has 37 points, 8 rebounds, but just 1 assist. And I think this goes back to, like, kind of the age-old question about how you stop a guy like LeBron or Luka, these incredibly talented scorers who are also insanely good passers. And do you make them score and limit everybody else? And that's what wound up happening. I don't know how much of that was really exceptional Minnesota defense versus the Lakers missed a bleep ton of shots. But it is something that is worth saying, like, hey, this is a good formula. Luka gets his 37, but if we can limit him to 1 assist. LeBron, 19 points. He had a bad night shooting threes, just 1 of 5. And just 3 assists. That is a sustainable way to win this series if you're Minnesota.
Yeah, I don't expect the Lakers to shoot the ball as poorly as they did Also, LeBron, he was a little passive coming out, but that's usually how he is in game ones. He likes to get a feel for what's going to happen this series. And the Timberwolves, they went out there, they bullied them, to be honest. Like, they got every loose ball. They were diving on the floor. It just gave to me that the Timberwolves wanted a little bit more, and that's why they were able to go out there and get the dub. But it's going to be a good series. Game 2, all right, we'll see what happens.
And I'm curious to see, like, do you get some different guys some minutes?
Like Dalton Connect?
That's exactly who I was thinking about. He comes in late. He plays just 3 minutes, but hits a 3. Like, they got to find shooting. And, this is J.J. Redick's first playoff series. Obviously, he's got a very experienced staff behind him, including a bunch of former NBA coaches. And J.J.'s, I don't think, very afraid of much. And I think he'll make changes. That is the fun part of an NBA series. NBA playoff series always go like this. Team 1 adjusts. Team 2 adjusts. Team 1 adjusts. Team 2 adjusts. And eventually you run either out of adjustments or games. And we'll see if they can figure out what the adjustment is if you're the Lakers in game 2. But they dropped game 1 at home. Then the Sunday games in the NBA's Western Conference. Grizzlies. Did you realize you were playing? They lost by 51, Anthony. 131-80. I kind of wish that was like 130-79 because somehow that feels worse than 131-80. 131-80. The Grizzlies' leading scorer, I believe, was, let me double check this. Oh, it was tied. Ja did have 17 as well, but Marvin Bagley, 17 points in 16 minutes. Went 8 of 8 from the field. The game was long over. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 15 points because he only played 23 minutes. What an ass kicking.
Yeah, I think you put that very lightly. They got abused yesterday, man. Never in my lifetime I would have ever thought I would have saw a playoff team in today's modern era lose by 50. I can understand, the Jazz losing to the Bulls by 50. All right.
That was an NBA Finals game. I remember that game.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I wouldn't have thought of that, but the Thunder, man, they came out here, they made a statement, man. That was a statement win. It looked like they about to sweep them. And we said on Friday, these 8 seeds, they probably have no chance and they're probably going to get swept. And I think they are just feeding into like what we already believed.
For sure. And then arguably best game of the weekend was the Warriors needing a bit of a comeback. They trailed after the first quarter, but then went bananas and really locked down defensively in the second, where they won that quarter 29-13, and they were able to hold off the Rockets in the second half. There's all this talk going into the weekend, Anthony, about how Amen Thompson was the Curry stopper. How'd that go?
Hashtag not good.
To say the least. Curry, 5 of 9 from 3, 12 of 19 from the field. They kept him off the free throw line. That's because they didn't call anything. There's all these videos going around social media of the Rockets just absolutely hugging Curry all the time. But like, he's so strong mentally and physically that he's fine. Like, he's like, push me, do whatever you want. When I want to get open, when I want to break free, I will. And then I'm going to hit the shot and I'm going to break your soul. So you're going to need a hug after I'm done with you. 31 points for Curry. Jimmy Butler has a plus 14 on the day. He's got 25.7 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals for Jimmy Butler in 42 minutes. On the Rockets side of things, Alperen Şengün, a team-high 26-9 rebounds, but just not enough. He also had 5 turnovers as the Warriors win game 1 at Houston 95-85.
Yeah, and again, I think one thing that we don't talk about when it comes to the Warriors, we don't talk about their defense. They held this Rockets team to 85 points, Greg. 85 points.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to lie. The shots that Steph Curry was hitting yesterday were sort of kind of reminiscent of the Golden Dagger in the Olympics.
Yes.
He hit some crazy shots, and I'm just like, if I'm playing Steph Curry, I'm angry. I'm like, I hate this dude because it makes no sense.
When he gets locked in, is there a more hopeless feeling in sports, period?
I don't know, man. it gets to a point where it's just like, all right, I'm fed up. Like, I'm fed up because this is
Imagine
ridiculous.
how the Rockets feel. Game 1. Blouses. AKA the Dubs. We'll see what happens in Game 2, that game later this week before the series shifts to Golden State. So Golden State at least already has the split. Rockets, they're an interesting organization, interesting team to say the least. We'll see if they can do anything. They, of course, are the 2 seed during the regular season. See how much that good does you if the Warriors wind up as the 7. All right, that is the NBA playoff wrap tonight. Arguably the 2 best games of the weekend, rematches in terms of closeness. Detroit, New York, and then LA and Denver. That is the matchups for tonight. We'll talk more about those games tomorrow here on the show. When we get back, the biggest story in the NBA today is probably Nico Harrison's press conference, the Mavericks general manager having to answer questions once again. And somehow he hasn't gotten any better at it. We'll take a look, take a listen next here on the Team 980. It's the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app. We're streaming live on YouTube, too, at the Team 980. I have a saying when it comes to how executives, players, coaches, anyone in sports that we as a media cover, or this could apply to politicians, to other newsmakers of any kind. But if Anthony, I say something on the radio, and I'll keep it to sports because then I keep it within our show, right? If I say something about Adam Peters or Will Dawkins or Mike Rizzo or whoever else, any of the other executives in town, and a decision they made, and say, this thing happened, and that's a problem for them, then that's a them problem, not a me problem. If I'm wrong and I'm lying, or I don't maybe I'm not lying on purpose, I just don't have the full picture painted of the truth, that's a me problem. I have not done a good job with my job. I'm being unfair to them. I'm influencing the way fans feel by giving my opinion that is not based off of reality. In some ways, I guess you could say the same thing if, like, I'm an idiot and I don't know what I'm talking about, and I just take a correct set of facts and come to the dumbest possible conclusion, and other people are like, he's smart, I agree with him because he's on the radio. Like, I'm not doing them any favors. And that, in that way, would be a me problem. But if I say something that's just a devastating truth about your team, your organization, a decision you made, that is a problem for you because it is true, that's not a me problem. That's a you problem. Enter Nico Harrison. The Mavs general manager today, Anthony, stepped to the podium in, I will admit, an unenviable position. That unenviable position is he is someone who pulled the trigger on the dumbest trade in NBA history, and then, after his team lost in the play-in tournament, had to do his season-ending press conference. I will credit Nico Harrison for showing up. To an extent, I will credit Nico Harrison for answering questions honestly. But how many times do you punch yourself in the before you go, wow, that really hurts, I should stop doing that? And that would be my question for Nico Harrison today, Anthony. How many times do you want to punch yourself in the in places where it hurts? It seems like for Nico Harrison, the answer is a lot.
I mean, he lacks self-awareness, man. Like, I think that's the easiest way to put it, because I just feel like some things you keep to yourself, some things you don't necessarily say to the public, and he doesn't care.
To be clear, he is in a no-win situation. And to be clear, something else that is important to remember when executives, especially executives, but also coaches, talk, there are multiple audiences that you are talking to, right? You're talking to the press in the room. Through them, you're talking to the fans. But you're also talking to people you got to deal with. You know, how many times have we, especially back in the day with Dan Snyder, I was like, oh, that answer was for an audience of one. Because, Bruce is saying whatever Bruce is supposed to because that's what Dan wants to hear, even if it makes him look like an idiot. Like, you got to play all these things. It is harder than I want to give it credit for, I think, to be in those positions. And so if you're Nico Harrison, you can't go out and say you made a mistake because then your owner is going to be really upset. You can't go out and not have confidence because then what do other team executives feel? Or what does your own team feel? They might feel a certain type of way anyway. But like if you're Nico and you go out and be like, we really made a mistake, how does Anthony Davis feel? Anthony Davis you care about now more than Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic is going to hate you for the rest of his life. Nothing you can do about that. But I think there's probably a better way to do what Nico Harrison did than this answer today on the Luka Doncic trade.
Did the anger and outrage from the fan base, has that exceeded what you were kind of planning for?
Yeah, good question. I did know that Luka was important to the fan base. I didn't quite know it to what level, but really the way we looked at it is, if you're putting a team on the floor that's Kyrie, Clay, PJ, Anthony Davis, and Lively, we feel that's a championship caliber team, and we would have been winning at a high level, and that would have quieted some of the outrage. And so unfortunately we weren't able to do that, so it just continued to, go on and on.
The second part of that answer is fine. To not understand what Luka meant to Mavs fans makes me really question, like, Nico Harrison's ability to exist safely in the world? Like, this is where I have a little extra insight, Anthony, because I used to work down there. There's arguably no more beloved athlete in Dallas than Dirk. I think that obviously some of the Cowboys greats are up there, Emmett and Troy and Michael Irvin, but in part because like those guys had media careers after, and like, you know, there's whatever, it's a little more complicated. You know, the Cowboys are a complicated team right now because of Jerry and the lack of success they've had since. But like Roger Staubach is beloved, but for folks of a certain age down there, like the prime sports fan age right now, you know, guys that are our age that grew up with Dirk. Like Dirk was an unimpeachable icon because Dirk spent 20 years in Dallas in the way that, like, if you're a diehard Caps fan, one, I have a goaltender update for you in 3 minutes on who's starting tonight. Two, the way you feel about Ovechkin is how they feel about Dirk. And when Dirk was saying, I'm on my way out, and in that final season, he's got a rookie Luka Doncic, another international player who Dirk is like, this guy's next. And you were about to be lucky enough to be the Green Bay Packers. And forget what you think about these people as people now and some of the things that have happened since they left Green Bay. But they had the ability to go Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Right? Like, you don't get that lucky. The Colts, Peyton Manning to Andrew Luck. And again, that didn't wind up working out. But that's because bad luck happened. It wasn't the Colts' fault that Andrew Luck didn't work out. They had that. And so Dallas fans were expecting Luka to be that, and he was living up to it. He just took them to the finals last year. And you traded him, and you didn't fully appreciate what kind of backlash that would be? Imagine if 5 years from now, Ovechkin's retired and Ryan Leonard takes the Caps to a cup, or on the verge of a cup, and then they trade him the next season. Then multiply that times the popularity of the Mavericks in Dallas versus the Capitals here. Like, it's almost impossible to describe how stupid that is. But that's the best I can do.
I think you can keep it Wizards related as well, like what John Wall meant to the city. Like, so many people are heartbroken. Granted,
it's like, yes, that's the closest Wizard, but like double the time and add a championship.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm.
That's what Dirk meant to Dallas. And to tell people this guy's the next Dirk. They've got a statue for Dirk already. It was done by the time he retired. They're not building a statue, all due respect. They're not building a statue of John outside of Capital One Arena.
Yeah, you're right.
It's, hey, save space next to that statue for this guy. And you trade that guy. That's what it was. And so that leads to the fire Nico, fire Nico, fire Nico chants. And then some intrepid reporter, is the question in here, Anthony?
Yep.
He went for it, this reporter.
Luka comes back to town, the Lakers game's happening, and you're standing there and there's thousands of people chanting for you to be fired. That's an experience that none of us, no one's chanting for for us to lose our jobs. Why shouldn't you be fired?
Well, one, I think I've done a really good job here, and I don't think I can be judged by the injuries this year. You have to judge from totality, from beginning to end. And so I think I have a really good working relationship with Patrick.
Patrick's their owner, who's probably at least in large part responsible for them trading Luka Doncic. Your track record, Nico, is that Luka Doncic took you to the finals. It's just indefensible. And that's ultimately where it is. Like, if I was Nico Harrison and I went out there today and I was like, all right, hey, guys, end of the season obviously did not end how we want. Got question. I know you guys have a bunch of questions. Like, fire away. Yeah, why shouldn't you be fired over the Luka Doncic trade? Guys, I've done how many press conferences about Luka already? I'm not talking about the trade anymore. We did it. We did what we thought was best for the team. Obviously, it didn't work out remotely in year one. We're very hopeful that it will work out moving forward. And if we didn't think it was the best thing for our franchise, then we wouldn't have made the trade. Next question. Like, you can't engage with the questions. And I, as a press person who asks questions, hates that. But at some point, if you want to have any sense of dignity and stop punching yourself in the you have to just go, hey, guys, you asked all this stuff already. I'd be a nightmare as someone answering questions in a press conference for the press. If they asked a bad question, I would be a nightmare for them.
Do you think they prepped him for that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think PR people are necessarily always the best at the prep, and I think executives are worse at I guarantee the PR person was like, that's not what we talked about. Also, I don't think Nico's a very confident, authoritative speaker. So he's a bad messenger. He's a bad messenger with a bad message because he made a bad decision.
Yeah.
Or it's having to defend the owner making a bad decision. So it's a no-win situation, but he is doing the worst, not the worst possible job, but about the worst possible job of trying to continue to be on the defensive about it. And the consequences are, if you are an agent or a player considering Dallas, if all other things are equal, I'm out. I don't trust you. I don't trust management. Like, if they'll trade Luka, they'll trade anyone.
In the middle of the night.
Yeah. Not great. All right, let's get you a look at what's trending real quick, including we have a starting goaltender for the Caps tonight to open the playoffs. the Hoffman Show. We're on the Team 980, always live as well on the free Odyssey app, streaming live on YouTube too at the Team 980. Tons of playoff action tonight, NBA, NHL. Should be a fun one if you're headed home and ready to watch sports for the evening. Is that what you're doing, Anthony? Locked in tonight?
Yeah, I will be watching both games. I'm not gonna lie, that Nuggets game is just so late, but I think I'm gonna step and watch it.
Not a chance.
I don't
Not a
know.
chance. Figure out if it's good. I'll watch it back tomorrow. If it's not, I'll watch the highlights back. I'll know what's happened. Put it that way. If you're looking for more sports coverage on your way home, Take Command has a fresh episode that I believe. Actually, let me double check, make sure that actually got published. I know it's done being edited because we aired some of it earlier on the show. Take Command. We refresh. Dun 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 dun. I'm just getting the circle of death right now. There we go. Nope, it's available. It's available right now. Logan's final 2025 NFL Draft Big Board. Available as of 3 hours ago. Tier 1s, edge rushers, and then defensive tackle, wide receiver, and cornerbacks. We went into all of it. Put that in your pipe and smoke it on the way home if you want, Anthony. You listen to music in the car, though. I'm a podcast guy, typically.
I do, so I have a 30 to 40-minute drive home, depending on traffic. And sometimes I'll call, my frat brothers, Z, all of those guys.
Yeah.
And we'll call it a podcast. So we'll podcast for 40 minutes. We
That's
just
really
don't
funny.
record it.
Yeah. That's what you guys basically have a group call going at all times.
Yeah.
And then people pop in and out of it.
Yeah. So when I come on air, they'll get on the call. And then sometimes they'll wait for me to get off, and then we'll get our group chat going. But
And
yeah,
Anthony's got
we're checking all the time.
the next level group chats.
It's a lot to pod.
You guys are the most active group chat I've ever seen, and half the time y'all are on the phone. It's actually crazy. Sometimes I'll call parents or whoever on the way home, family, loved ones, friends. Be like, Tony, this crazy thing happened during the show today. We're gonna need to get that on the internet ASAP. What else was I gonna say about stuff?
This evening, what you're doing?
I was gonna say, sometimes you mentioned you guys call it the podcast when you guys get on the phone. We call extra long voice notes when we send our friends. We call those personal podcasts. So
that is a personal. God, how long are these, Craig?
If anything over a minute gets classified as
that's too long.
I know, and so if it's kind of like our house rule. If you send a voice note that's over a minute, it's sorry for the personal podcast.
Yeah, because the thing is, you got to click your phone so that it doesn't go off.
They've changed that. It's better now.
Really?
Yeah. That used to be the worst.
I got to type in that.
Yeah. No. You want me to send you a long voice note?
Oh, you want to put it to the test?
Well,
I think I'll wait, Craig. I think I'll wait.
Okay. Well, if it comes naturally, I don't voice note you that often because I feel like you hear my voice enough. One, you're actually, I appreciate this about you. You're a phone call or even a FaceTime person. So
usually I actually am a texter, but sometimes I be needing to talk to you right away, so I'll call you.
Yeah. No, but we're not afraid to pick up the phone.
Oh no.
For sure. But there are times when if I'm walking somewhere and I don't want to text and type or it's something, I'll just be like, hey man, sorry for the voice note. Personal podcast. Here we go. And I will hit Anthony up. Do we have anything in the Real Things folder for today?
We have two things, but I think we'll only be able to play the Jimmy Butler one.
Okay. Jimmy's Real Things legend. So I say let's get to it to end the radio show. If I can get our ducks in a row. Hey, they're in a row. Duck, goose.
Real things.
We're not gonna be sucked this year.
Real people.
5 and 11, not very good.
Said into real microphones.
The culture is actually damn good.
All right, this is titled Jimmy Butler is fed up with Buddy Hield dribbling the ball.
We just got to stay in the fight, box out, have some technique, and stop patting the ball like I be doing and just go grab it with two hands. And Buddy, stop trying to dribble the ball. I hate that.
They've had some funny locker room back and forths, those two.
Dude, no, because Buddy Hield really does sometimes do a lot. He'll look off Steph Curry, he'll dribble the ball. What are you doing, buddy?
Buddy. I love that his name's Buddy. Buddy, Ixnay. Ixnay Adibe. All right, that's our show. We'll see you tomorrow. Go Caps. We're done.